Happy New Year! I know what you're saying right now. It's July 21st. Come on. It's not a new year. We're more than halfway through the season, through the year. Well, what I say to that is, it may be a new year for some culture around the world. It may be a new year for aliens that live on Mars or Saturn. So, let's not be too strict on the New Year policy. But the reason why I'm really saying Happy New Year is because this Monday, for the first time, I felt like it was 2021. I don't know why. Maybe it was because Kanye West was dropping his new album on Friday, or something here, something there. I don't know. But for the first time in 7 months, this does not feel like 2020 part 2 for me. And I told my friend Christian this, that most of this year has felt like 2020 part 2. And Monday was the first time where I felt like, yes, it's 2021. You know? And summer's in full swing right now. This is summer. No real sports. Speculations. I just got a notification on my phone. The United States women's national team just lost 3-0 to Sweden. This is summer. Transfer window in the works. Finals coming to an end yesterday. American football. The American football season coming around the corner. College and professional. I always see how the Alabama potential starting quarterback may make around $1 million in endorsements this season. Good for him. Good for college basketball. Good for college football. Good for college sports. It's Kamal Daniels, and it's the Peng Sports Podcast, episode 21, on the 21st of July. And the Bucks are the champions of the NBA. And as I say, this is my new statement, this is my new quote for the rest of my life. Well, I don't live by it, but when I talked about basketball, this is my quote. When I'm playing with great players, I'm playing with house money. And Giannis is a great player, and I'm playing with house money. Chris Paul is a great player, and I'm playing with house money. So whenever you're in doubt of who should I pull for, who should I root for, just root for the great player. It's going to work out for you. Now, this is my first take. Giannis Antetokounmpo is the greatest Buck of all time. I'm not going to explain any further. But congratulations to the Bucks. I want to take this back. I think last week we went over game 1, 2, and 3. And game 4 was sort of... God, if I'm remembering it correctly. Game 4 was sort of a blowout. If I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. But I want to go back to game 5. Game 4 was, of course, won by the Bucks. They won 4 straight. Okay, so game 5. Suns came out strong, up by 16. The fans were in it. Devin Booker was making his shots. Crowder was making his shots. The pick and roll was working. Fans were counting down. There's that money man in game 5. Remember him? Counting the money. 1, 2, counting hundreds off. 300, 400, 500, 600. So the thing about that is, it's sort of like face paint, right? At first, It's fun. Got paint on your face. You know. It's cool in the moment when you're painting your face. And then by the second or third quarter, no matter what, you start to get a little sweaty. The paint gets a little itchy, you know. In his case, his hands got a little sweaty. The money's not as crisp. It's a little bit more wrinkly. And yeah, it's a good idea initially, supporting your team. But towards the second, third quarter, man, it sort of gets old. Fourth quarter, it sort of comes back, but it's not the same as it was in the first. So my suggestion, if you're a face paint person, a little face paint on the cheek. If you're going to bring money, use it the first quarter. Then don't whip it out the third and fourth quarter. It's just not something that, it's not a good plan for the future, if that makes sense. But I was writing down notes on the game, small notes, not in-depth basketball. No. It was in-depth basketball analysis. But all the second quarter, all I was wrote down was basically wow. Wow, impressed by the Bucks coming back in the second quarter. How the Bucks somehow got it close at the start of the second quarter. Then somehow the Bucks were somehow up in the second quarter. You know, Mike bring his voice cracked, and the Bucks fans to have strong. And we talked about this in game 2, where they finished out the first quarter strong, up by 3 when they should have been down by 4, I believe. And it came back. It came back. Yeah, they lost game 2, but they stuck with it. They stuck with their morals. They stuck with what made them great. And it came back to help them. And they didn't disregard what happened in game 2. They stuck to it. Now we get into halftime. They're up. And before we get into the third quarter, I just want to say this. We don't need halftime. We don't need halftime analysis if it's going to be for 2 seconds and only Jalen Rose is going to talk. See, what we can do is we'll just have halftime entertainment. Whatever they have at halftime, if it's a dog jumping through the hoop, if it's a lady bouncing cups on her head, bowls on her head, let's just have it. Jennifer Lopez is always down to entertain. She's always down to perform. You know? We don't need the halftime show. For the Western Conference semis, Western Conference finals, Western Conference first round, yeah, that's cool. But finals, let's get some entertainment. You know? I can do stand-up. You know? I'm a man of many talents, what can I say? But watching the third quarter, this convinced me that I need to still do this podcast. Because clearly, Giannis listens to the podcast. Because last week I critiqued him on his passing accuracy. And every pass in the third quarter that I saw was the same kind of pass that he usually makes. But these kind of passes were in the shooting pocket, in the chest. Accurate. No one was stumbling over the ball. No one lost the ball. Phenomenal passes by Giannis. And then in the third quarter, we saw Chris Paul get a little bit more comfortable. Probably the most comfortable he had been all series. Game 1 and 2, yeah, he was comfortable, but third quarter of game 5 is when I saw Chris Paul be not totally Chris Paul, but be the Chris Paul that we expected. A little bit of it. he just figured out the Bucks late, but he had something he could use in Game 6 of the playoffs. So Chris Paul stepping up, Bucks keeping up with their lead. I definitely thought at the beginning of the third quarter the Suns would come out hot, and I believe they came out decently well. But the Bucks, they were ready. The Bucks were ready. The Bucks, I realized, are a team that they don't give up leads. They're not a team that give up leads. You know, you could talk about last night, but when you have a player like Giannis where you can get easy baskets, like a lot of old heads of basketball would say easy baskets, it does make sense. 100%. When you have a guy like Giannis who can get you a basket when the Suns go on an 8-0 run, give the ball to Giannis. He can get a foul, stop the momentum, even if he misses both free throws. He stops the momentum a little bit, pauses the clock, people can reset. You have the ultimate trump card for runs in the NBA. And in the third quarter, I noticed how really important DeAndre Ayton is in the Suns' scheme of things. It showed me how important he is. I knew he was important, and I saw in Game 3 and 4 how important he was. And I saw in the losses against the Clippers how important he was. When he's not dominating offensive glasses, how not inept, but how not as good the Suns are. Because that's something that they're very good at. So they're going to run, and another team going to run, and then they're getting so many easy baskets with DeAndre Ayton getting an offensive rebound. That was their trump card, and their trump card was diminished because they had Lopez, Middleton, even Middleton, Giannis, Bobby Portis. They had bodies to combat Ayton, who's going to be a top 10 player. Okay, I won't say top 10. He'll be a top 3 center easily in 3 years, I believe. And I believe he can be a top 15, top 20, yes, maybe even top 10 player in the next 3 years. That's how good DeAndre Ayton is. I think his ceiling's higher than Devin Booker's. Good Zephyr Hills water. Yes, I do. I do think his ceiling is higher than Devin Booker. Now, what does that ceiling look like? Depends. But I do think he has more to improve than Devin Booker. Devin Booker can become a better passer, playmaker. But outside of that, Devin Booker's game is sort of complete to me. Maybe a more consistent scorer, of course. But he plays good defense. He's a shot maker. Who has a higher ceiling, in my opinion, is DeAndre Ayton. But impressive quarter by the Bucks. For a minute there, it started to get a little ugly for the Suns. It started to get a little ugly for the Suns. And it was getting a little away from them. Because remember, they were up 16 at one point in the game. The Bucks were sort of controlling the game. And as I said earlier, pick and roll was killing the Bucks, but Mike Budenholzer, because I have such a keen basketball eye, I noticed he put in the large lineup to combat that. That's the word of the day. To combat that pick and roll scheme. And the Suns didn't really have an answer for it. But the Suns did sort of figure it out. And it's happened in the fourth. I think the Bucks got a little tight. And when the Bucks get tight, they just give it to Giannis, which is never a bad decision. But the Bucks definitely got a little tight. They weren't shooting the ball as aggressively. Then Suns get back into it. Middleton 6 straight points. And after that, basically the game's over. The Suns Chris Paul didn't have a shot over Giannis. He didn't make a shot over Connaughton to pull him in one. That didn't happen. Well, it did happen, but the game was over. And then the Suns didn't get a huge stop, and then there wasn't another steal by Jrue Holiday and alley-oop to Giannis. Just run-of-the-mill, mundane, everyday kind of things, And one alley-oop steal last 30 seconds of the game. Highlight of maybe the last 5 finals outside of the block by LeBron James. More impressive than the block, to be honest with you. Not more important, but everyday run-of-the-mill finals stuff. And that led us to Game 6. Bucks up 3-2. Game 6. See, this was the first game that I was sort of confident. I sort of picked the Bucks, right? You saw at the beginning of the game who Scott Foster was the ref. Everyone was showing the meme of Chris Middleton and Jrue Holiday laughing. I was pretty confident. I was like, yeah, the Bucks gonna win. Bucks in 6. Bucks in 6. Bucks in 6. Right? And for the first quarter, it looked like two teams who were a team who was about to get eliminated from the playoffs, and it looked like a team who was about to win the finals. Because both teams looked tight. I have 2 words of the day: combat and tight. Those are 2 words of the day. The Bucks looked tight. The Suns looked tight. The Bucks were able to get a little lead. I think they're up. Were they up 13? 10? They were up a good amount, though. I think they were up 13 at one point. Then they were able to get a big at the end of the quarter. And the biggest takeaway from the first quarter of that game was, outside the 13-point lead, I believe, was the Shakara Richardson commercial / Donda promotion. Kanye West's new album coming out. I'm not sponsored by either of those, Beats or Donda. But that's the biggest thing from that quarter. It happened at the end. Second quarter begins. Campaign hits a 3. I think he hits a layup. He may have hit a layup in the first quarter, but he sort of sparked the little run that the Suns went on. And I also think the Bucks realized, oh wait, we're up 13 and we're 3/4, we're 1/4 complete of a 4/4 battle. So we're just 3/4 on the way there. And I could explain that a little bit better. But you see, you catch the vision. They clocked it. They said, oh, wait, we're about to win an NBA championship. We're in good position to win an NBA championship. And they got tight. And then there's this dude named Chris Paul who decided to play his best quarter of the series in that second quarter. The Suns settled, and then they tied it, and then they led. And it made me realize, with Chris Paul balling and Devin Booker not having a great game, I know nothing about basketball. DeAndre Ayton had a bad game. There's no way the Suns were supposed to be. That shows you how great Chris Paul is. There's no way. Again, Scott Foster was the ref. They lost 3 straight. They're not at home. But they figured out a way to get out of that hole. Behind, again, my apologies, Chris Paul. Behind Chris Paul. But then, as per usual, what did the Bucks do? What did the Bucks do on offense? Did they give the ball to Chris Middleton. Love Chris Middleton. No. Did they give the ball to Drew? No. Did they give the ball to Pat? Love Pat. No. Did they give the ball to Bobby? A little bit. But who did they give the ball to? They gave the ball to Giannis. The ultimate trump card for streaks. The ultimate trump card for any momentum builder. He's like a good pothole or a good speed bump. A new speed bump. Just kills everything. He may not take the last shot. That's for Middleton. But in Game 5 against the Nets, he kept him in the game. In Game 6 here, he kept him in the game. Instead of them being, unlike the Suns, where the Bucks were up at halftime, where the Suns were still up at half. Instead of being up 16-15, the Bucks were down 4. And just like the Bucks did when they closed out the first quarter, in Game 2 they lost. In Game 5, what did Giannis do against the Nets? Kept them in the game. They lost the game. But it came back around like a full circle. And he kept them in the game, and they weren't blown out. And I think that helped them win the championship. Well, it did help them win the championship. And also, what I noticed in the second quarter, Chris Paul has the best footwork in the NBA by far. And it's not even close. Best footwork in the NBA, Chris Paul. I was going to call him Christian, but I don't think that's his name. Second half begins. No halftime entertainment. No Jennifer Lopez. And I'm going to use one of my 2 words of the day again. The Bucks were clearly tight in the second. But Coach Mike Budenholzer, who I said should be fired, I was calling for his head. In earlier podcast. And I was wrong. And again, Kamal Daniels does not know basketball. But I'm learning. But I had no clue this game was going to go like this. Up and down, up and down, up and down. One marker of a good game is how many times did you think the game was over, but it wasn't? If you watched the 2017 Rose Bowl with Penn State, USC, how many times do you think that game was over? USC came out in the first quarter up, I don't remember, 14. Penn State comes back. I think they're up like 10 with like 4 minutes left, something along those lines. It wasn't, the game looked over. But a mark of a good game is how many times can a team come back when the game looks over? And this happened multiple times over and over again. Game looked over in the first quarter. Suns came back. Game looked over in the second half because it looked like Chris Paul was going to do his thing. And I wrote down in my notes, it's over if Chris Paul is doing his thing tonight. It's over. If Chris Paul, for this series, decided to play like the Chris Paul we know, like he did in the second quarter, the series would have been 5-1. You can't win 5 games in the finals. It would have been 4-1, 5 games, Suns win. Easily. In my opinion. And I say it again. The big thing in the series was the Bucks preventing Ayton from dominating in the block. They were attacking him, tiring him out, and he couldn't get as easy baskets. He wasn't shooting 4 for 5 from the field. You know? He wasn't getting killer offensive rebounds. They take Giannis out, they put Lopez in. They take Lopez out, they put Bobby Portis in. And they weren't ashamed to double team, and they weren't ashamed to... Nothing was easy around the basket. Amen. Phenomenal by the Bucks. Phenomenal. I don't want to hear the train of thought of the big man is no longer relevant in the league. If you have a solid big man, you are an NBA competitor. That's why the Heat will be NBA competitors next season. That's why the Bucks will be NBA competitors next season. That's why the Nets, love Kyrie, love James. I don't love them, but I like them as players. Like KD. Got the same initials as KD. But they may not be competitors next year because they don't have a center. The Lakers, they don't have a center. AD is great, but he's not a center. The Denver Nuggets will be competitors next season because of Jokic. The Portland Trail Blazers will be competitors next season no matter what happens with Dame Lillard because they have a center. Wherever Miles Turner goes, that team will be competitive. Yes, Miles Turner is apparently supposed to be traded. I don't really know. Timberwolves will be competitors next season because they have a center. Yes, the Timberwolves. But back to this quarter, I definitely thought this game was over. Because Booker looked like he was waking up a little bit. Chris Paul was playing like Chris Paul. And then, as I said earlier, give the ball to Giannis. And they gave the ball to Giannis. I didn't understand why anyone else was taking shots, honestly. In situations like that, it's my train of thought. Of course, maybe I need to change it, but I believe, okay, all right. Unless you have an open shot, I'm giving the ball to my best player. I'm giving the ball to Giannis. But I'm not a professional basketball player. I don't have as much confidence in my basketball game. And as I said earlier, in my notes, I wrote down this game is over. Because Devin Booker was awake. And again, Chris Paul was being Chris Paul 100%, not 80% Chris Paul in Game 5, 100% Chris Paul. It was a dandy of a basketball game. It was a dandy of a basketball game. Now, where did the game change? What was the deciding moment of the game yesterday? A lot of people want to know. Let me tell you. The game changed when Mike Breen called Drew Holiday's wife his mother. And that's when I knew this game was over. Because for some reason, the Bucks clicked after that. For some reason. I don't know why. As soon as Mike Breen called Drew Holiday's wife, who was a women's national team player, World Cup champion, I might add. United States lost 3-0. She won a gold medal. She won gold medal, World Cup. Anywho, they miss her. United States national team misses Holiday. She was phenomenal. And she's not crazily old right now. She would definitely still be playing if she didn't have her health scares. God bless, Allah, Buddha, whoever you believe in. They blessed her. She has providence by whatever spiritual being you believe in. But anyways, Giannis was 8 for 9 from the free throw line. Pat Connaughton wouldn't shoot the ball. Bobby Portis would, though. Then as the fourth quarter rolled around, I thought to myself, what a wonderful game. The skies are blue. Yes, they are. I like my life. How about you? And I think to myself, What a wonderful game. That's my rendition of A Wonderful World. My remix. The acoustic version. Giannis was balling. Bobby was balling. Chris was balling. Chris Paul, I must say. Not Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton was doing his thing, but Chris Paul, that's what I was talking about. I like how the Bucks called a timeout when Giannis got tired. And the best team won last night. See, what happened was, after the game, when the Bucks won, congratulations to the Bucks once again. 50 years. I see why the Bucks haven't won a championship in 50 years, because the fans don't know how to control themselves, neither do the owners. Goodness gracious, man. Those guys didn't know how to act. They did not know how to act last night. When I saw the celebrations and stuff, again, it's a Wednesday night. It's not like it's a Friday or anything. That's a weird one, right? That's an interesting one. Like, what do you do? Like, Super Bowl's always on a Sunday. So it's a Sunday. Monday's the next day. No one really likes Mondays. So you do your thing. But this was a Tuesday. What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you doing Thursday? What are you doing Friday? I know what you're doing Friday, but what do you do today? What do you do tomorrow? Is there a parade? No. Parade's probably like on Monday, right? I'm just curious, like, what do you do? Because, I'm starting to become an adult. My parents aren't going to pay for stuff anymore. I'm becoming an adult right now. What do I do when the Dallas Mavericks in 2027 win the finals and it's a Tuesday? Do I celebrate? If I'm living in Dallas, maybe, or Austin, or wherever. What do I do? It's a Tuesday. I just think we got to schedule the finals a little bit better. Thursday, Sunday games, finals. But anywho, we don't need to interview the owners at the end of the game. No one cares. No one cares. I mean, no one cares about what had the owners who have not talked all season have to say. Maybe Mark Cuban. But people don't care about the Bucks owners. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to the Bucks, the 2021 NBA championships and the 2022 NBA Eastern Conference champions. That went over your head. I was thinking about if I wanted to touch on this, if I want to do this. But I want to touch on this. Again, congratulations to the Bucks. But I want to get into football. I want to get into some transfers. Some transfer talks. We'll briefly touch on it. Memphis Depay to Barcelona. It's official. Makes Barcelona better. But it doesn't make their uniforms any better. Their home uniforms are not good. They're not fun. I like the buttons. But no. Nah. I don't love those uniforms. Hopefully they change them in the middle of the season. Hopefully they have alternate home kits. What they should have done was just remember they had two kits last season, home kits? They should just save that other one, and made that one the home kit. And then I've seen some of the home kits for the 2022-2023 season, and they look nice. Those kits look nice. Not official, but they look nice. But these kits are just, man, not the best Barcelona, I'll be honest with you. And they usually had the better kits in football. They usually know how to mix the red and the blue. 2 years ago, the checker one even grew on me. But these are not going to grow on me. These will not grow on me. These will not grow on me. But from Barcelona to Real Madrid looking to get rid of Varane. Not looking to get rid of him. He's looking to leave. He's looking for a new challenge, and no one can go against a new challenge. Going to Manchester United. Stacking the deck, I guess you could say. And I also want to go back to the NBA real quick. It did feel a little decent. I'm not going to say it felt great, but it didn't feel that bad when the Bucks won, and even the Suns won. Not a super team winning. Maybe you guys have a point, old heads. You guys aren't old, but maybe you have a point. Stacking teams maybe feels a little bit better, you know? Yeah, man. I guess it did feel better when the 2 years when the Houston Rockets won and the Bulls didn't win it, when this Bulls had a super team, you know? And when the Pistons won it, instead of the Celtics and the Lakers when they didn't have a super team in the 80s, you know? I see what you're saying. It does feel a little bit better when teams don't stack the deck, you know? So, shame on you, Chicago Bulls. Shame on you, Lakers. Shame on you, Celtics, in the 80s and 90s for stacking the decks and creating super teams. Shame on you. But, back to Varane. How good is Manchester United with Varane? I think they are title contenders and title favorites. They're better than Liverpool, in my opinion. I don't think Liverpool's gotten any better. Hopefully Sadio Mane can come back, but even with Sadio Mane in form, I don't think they're better than Manchester United. Of course, I'm factoring in Manchester United signed Jadon Sancho as well. They're competing with Manchester City. Of course. Their center-back partnership's just as good, right? Shaw, Wan-Bissaka. Manchester City hasn't totally figured out their left-back position. They have the left-back position figured out. With Shaw, right? They have Zinchenko, Mendy, still haven't figured it out. Cancelo can play, but Cancelo can't play right and left. I guess they can play Kyle Walker right, Cancelo left. I don't know. With Jadon Sancho also signing with Manchester United, Paul Pogba can finally play center midfield. Varane signing will help as well, if that makes sense. You can take more risk with Varane at back. You can't take as many risks with Pogba and Lindelof at back. Lindelof's a very good player. Hopefully Lindelof goes to like a Tottenham, you know. Because I really do think Lindelof is a good center back. But I don't think he's had that guy to teach him, like Varane did for Real Madrid. They had Ramos. Lindelof goes to Tottenham, Spurs, whatever you want to call it. He has Adebayo by him, Dyer by him. They can coach him up, and he can become a better player, I believe, more experienced. Because, yeah, Lindelof is, I guess, quote-unquote, the elder statesman in the back line. With De Gea gone, it's him. He's the guy with the most experience for Manchester United. He has the most caps. Maybe behind Law. He may have less than Shaw. But Shaw was in and out. Lindelof's been consistent. Yeah, Paul Pogba can play center. First season for Manchester United. The only thing that I'm sort of weary, sort of scared about is how is Ole going to do with a team that's supposed to win the Champions League? Not supposed to win the Champions League, but supposed to compete for the league. They can't be a team like last year, where they're second place, but they're really far off from being second place. Like they're second place, but sort of how people were going to do the Suns this year if they won a championship. Oh, you only won because of injuries. You didn't. They didn't. They've been the best team throughout the season, even when the Lakers and even when the Clippers were healthy. But anyways, how good will Manchester United be? How will Ole Gunnar Solskjaer be next season? With expectations to win the league. With expectations. Because last year, if they made Europa League, I don't think fans would have been crazily disappointed. Made Europa League final. Europa League, 5th place. But this season, if they don't make Champions League, Manchester United has a problem. Manchester United, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be sacked by the end of this season. If they're not third or higher, I don't believe. You know? But on from Manchester United to Chelsea. I said Manchester United are favorites if they sign Varane and Sancho. If Chelsea sign Haaland, I'm not watching Premier League anymore because this Premier League season's a wrap. Because the one weakness is scoring goals, Chelsea. And Havertz just learned, just like Chris Paul, he just learned how to play football. Conte in the center, of course. Warner can play winger, or they can play 2 up top if they really want to. Rudiger at the back, Silva at the back. I was combining Thiago Silva and Silva at the back. Silva at the back, Mendy another gear up his belt, Chilwell, something to prove, not even getting a lick of time in Euros, so he has something to prove a little bit. Reece James is Reece James. You know what you're going to get out of him. Pulisic being Pulisic. Mason Mount being Mason Mount. Not the hugest Mason Mount fan, but I got to accept that he is a decent player. A very decent player. A very good player. Arsenal. Onto another North London team. Arsenal. They're not going to get Locketti. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Locketti. Center midfielder. Likely he's probably going to go to Juventus. But you see Arsenal and their signings they're getting. They're not getting old players. Locketti would have been a great signing. But they're getting young players. Players, they are building for the future. And coming from a Jaguars fan, it doesn't feel as good as it sounds. But in 2024, if you can keep your players and they don't leave, Arsenal will be competing for Champions League. Not Champions League, Premier League. They will be competing for Champions League. But they will be attempting to win the Premier League. Trust me. Keep the core. Keep buying the young players. Because yes, your team is young. Get a center back. Keep Gabriel. But you want to build a culture. You want to build chemistry because we saw with the Bucks, you build enough chemistry. You can win with chemistry. I talked about Varane earlier. He's not the only one from Real Madrid. Only Real Madrid center back. Who's going to be center back for? Is Nacho going to play center back? And God, I forget his name. I have his face in my mind. Brazilian center back, played for Porto. Now he plays for Real Madrid. I guess they'll play center back. They didn't play horribly last year in Champions League. They really didn't. But how's PSG going to be? I don't love their shorts. This is not basketball. This is football. They're not the Bulls. Look at their jerseys. They have Bulls jerseys. Bulls shorts. Not Bulls jerseys. Bulls shorts. They honestly may have. I think they have 3 lines on the sleeves, just like the Bulls in the 90s. If they have the collar, I don't think they have the little collar going on, but they may have the collar. Their jerseys are just like Bulls jersey uniforms. And I don't like it. It's football. OG football. This isn't basketball. I know you're sponsored by Jordan. Nice collab. But nah, man. Nah. But can PSG win the Champions League? I have no clue. Champions League is something that you can't predict until the quarterfinals. You can't. A team that's good domestically is not necessarily going to be good in the Champions League. You know? So does Hakimi help them? 100%. Does Ramos help them? 100%. I thought they had a good partnership in Kimpembe and Marquinhos. They may be playing 3 at back, so that may help. I don't know who would play left wing back. Maybe it's Kerr. I don't know. Maybe they put Kimpembe at left back. He can't play it. But they need to win the Champions League this year because Mbappe's going to leave next season. He's going to go to Liverpool. Everyone thinks, oh, Liverpool, you know. Yes, Liverpool may not be as good as Manchester United next year. 2021-2022 season, Manchester United Liverpool may be playing second fiddle to Manchester United. But there's a reason why Liverpool aren't spending any money, a lot of money this season. There's a reason for it. There's a reason why they didn't spend a lot of money last summer transfer or winter. They had to spend it winter. They wouldn't have if they didn't need to. But there's a reason for it. It's not like they're not spending money because they don't have the money. It's because they're saving up. They may sign Neto too. My favorite player in the Premier League. Wolves, of course. Apparently he's going for 15. I would sign Neto. Neto, Mbappe, oh Lord. Oh Lord. But that's for 2022-2023 season. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's going to be a fun year of football, you guys. I'm acting like the season's tomorrow. But it's going to be fun. If you didn't see Euros, if you missed that was just a little sample. But then it'll be Englishmen against Englishmen, Italian against Italian. It'll be less unified, man. It'll be interesting. It's going to be a fun time. Now, I mentioned a little earlier the United States women's national team losing 3-0 against Sweden earlier today. Earlier today. And that's the Olympics. That's the Olympics. Upsets. This will be the first Olympics that I remember. Of course, I was alive in 2004. But the first Olympics I remember without Usain Bolt and without Michael Phelps. For the first time. And it's going to be interesting. With legends hitting their horizon. And their flames being asked out. The flames of their career being asked out. New legends will arise from those ashes, like the Phoenix. And we will have new legends coming this Olympics. It happens every time. We always got new legends. That's the Olympics. That's the great thing about Olympics. Legends. New legends every year. Every time. Remember the dude who did the cross country? Not cross country. He did the triathlon. In track. He did the 400. I forget his name. But no one watches that event. But somehow, someway, he became a household name. It happens every year. I wonder who's going to be the next icon from the Olympics. Now, I don't love to do predictions on things I don't know a lot about. But this is the Olympics every 4 years, not once in a lifetime experience, but once every 4 years experience. You got to dabble a little bit. You got to stick your toe in. Now, I'm not going to be predicting track. I'm not going to be predicting field. I'm not going to be predicting swimming or basketball. I'm actually going to be predicting basketball, men's basketball. I'm going to predict archery. Who's going to win men's archery? I'm going with in individual competition. Brady Ellison will win archery and will win the gold. He has he's a 3-time medal winner. Experienced. This is his time. He did well in the World Cup of archery, I believe. Well in Olympic trials. I got Brady Ellison, if that's how you pronounce his name. For the United States, of course. Now, who's going to win the team event? It won't be the United States. It's Korea. Korea have the best archery team, top to bottom. They hit the bullseye quite a bit. They hit the target quite a bit. They are the Bucks of archery, a great team. With Kim Woo-jin and Oh-jin Hike. This is apparently Hike's last Olympics. You gotta win it for Hike. It's his best opportunity because I don't think he's beating Brady in archery. I just don't think he's gonna beat him in the individual match. So I have Korea. They're not home, but they're close to home. Korea, 2022 team archery gold medalist. Now, onto the women's events. Canoeing and kayaking. Flat water, of course. You know, people like Salom. Kayaking, canoeing. Go through the gates, rugged waters. But I like the speed. I like the kayaking. And if I'm not mistaken, let me tell you. The difference between canoeing and kayaking is this. Kayaking. The two people on the knees, they have one paddle, and they paddle. And they on their knees. Canoeing, you're sitting down. And you have a rudder. That's the biggest difference. You have a rudder in canoeing. In kayaking, it's just you and the ocean. Just you and the ocean. I may be mistaken, but that's what I believe. I believe canoes have rudders. Kayaks do not. Kayaks, knees, canoeing, sitting down. And I like the speed. I don't like the salom kayaking. Just not a fan. Just not a fan. But as I was doing research for this, there was like nothing for me to. I could look up all the athletes who were doing it. But they didn't give me any statistics. They didn't give me any recent data on them. I believe Cuba is participating in it. So I'm going to go with Cuba to win the gold. Team Cuba winning the gold in the women's canoeing/kayaking Olympics. The flat water, of course. Biggest sporting event in the world, and we don't have enough information on canoeing and kayaking. Come on, Olympics. Come on, Olympics. I know track and field makes you the most money, but let's give a little effort. I could look up stats for the 12 men off the bench for the 2004 Cavaliers, but I can't find canoeing and kayaking for the Olympics. You gotta get better, man. United States will win silver in basketball, men's basketball. And that's my final prediction for the playoffs. Not for the playoffs, for the Olympics. And that's all, folks. Space Jam 2 came out. It will never be better than the Space Jam 1. See, I argue with you, MJ, LeBron, basketball court, but nah, man. When it comes to movies and it comes to acting, we should have just made a Jam Space or something. But we shouldn't have made a Space Jam 2 because there's no way LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. and Space Jam. It's just not. He just isn't. I don't like to compare eras. But Michael's got the movie game on lock. Thanks for listening to the Peng Sports Podcast. It's episode 21 on the 21st. It's like it's a sign. Thanks again for listening. It's Kamal Daniels, and this is the Peng Sports Podcast, episode 21. And I am signing off.